forestry accounting in Africa countries, and then called the implementation of the system of environmental, economic, accounting, agriculture, forestry, and fishery. So to start with, let me explain a little bit about why forestry account, and then what is about this CER, SNA, Central Framework, agriculture, forestry, fishery, and then experimental environmental accounting, ecosystem accounting. And then I briefly mentioned what are we doing as a background, and then our program for these sessions. Forestry account is important. It's important because it's along with other like energy account, water account, land account, under the big umbrella called the natural capital account. And natural capital account has become a field with a great interesting increasing interest and activities in Africa, because natural capital accounts for 30 to 50% of the wealth in many African countries. So how to manage to measure natural capital become very vital. Natural capital accounting provide the tools and methodology to do the accounting in a systematical, compatible approach to measure the interaction between natural capital and economic society, and then what's the contribution from natural capital. So we also know natural capital is one of key in terms of sustainable development, because we have to preserve natural capital. In statistics, we know we need to follow international standards or recommendations. There's a bit of difference between standards and recommendations. So in the title, we call the SEER, System of Economic or Environmental Economic Accounting, Agriculture, Forestry, and Fishery. So the abbreviation is the CRAFF. Besides CRAFF, we have CR Central Framework, CR, and then we have national accounts. So there is a relationship among them. These are SNA, for example, System of National Account is the international standard. CR Central Framework is the international standard. And CRAFF, that's white cover publication, still is a recommendation. And the CR Environmental Experiment Ecosystem Accounting is still recommendations. So in terms of a forestry account, each of them touch upon forestry account, but in some different aspects. UNECA is a United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. We located in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So we have a member states, 54 countries in Africa. Our role is, number one, is to promote the adoption and application of international standard laws and recommendations. Number two, we design and organize programs, projects in support of countries for the implementation of these international standards. In order to implement international standard, we need to build up capacities. So another activity is through those program projects, we try to build up the capacities among the member states so that they can apply. So this presentation mainly from 3 countries, Senegal, Cameroon, Morocco. According their experience as a pilot countries participating in the ECA program, technical capacity program and project. So in the last almost 2 years' time, we went through e-training, face-to-face seminar workshops, and then technical assistance 3 phases. So work together with countries, and they have done made a lot of achievements. It's an opportunity here for them to make a presentation according to their experience and practice, lesson learned, and then also it's a good feedback to the international standard and recommendation like CR, Central Framework, CR, AFF, to see how to make it more practical. We have 5 presentations. Start from Issa. Issa is the director of the statistics in Senegal, and also in terms of compilation of we call the environmental extended supply use table, because in the accounts, like a national account, a serious account, and then the supply use table is the step 1. Then follow up by Mohamedo. Mohamedo is the chief for statistics in agriculture from Senegal. The application, the overview, and the lesson learned from the compilation of the environmental extended SUT. Ali is UN staff and closely coordinate the project for Senegal. So Ali will be a discussion to comments on those 2 papers on Senegal. We follow up with Sarah from Cameroon. Sarah is the chief of statistics from Cameroon, and then talking about the data collection for compilation of forestry account on wood products in Cameroon. And then Isafo also is a UN's colleagues, but working in Cameroon, so work closely with the country team on compilation of forestry account in Cameroon. We have the 5th presentation by Isidore. Isidore is also UN ECA colleagues, economist, working closely with the Morocco team. So we'll made the presentation on behalf of the team on the forestry account in both monetary and physical accounts. And we have Chuka. Chuka from Finland is a very known world expert in forestry account, and he provided technical advice to all teams working in these areas. So he's going to make the comments on the 3 papers on Cameroon and then on Morocco. Then we open up a floor discussion. We have a total of 1 hour and 15 minutes, and each presentation, including presenters, discussions, will have 10 minutes. So we managed to get enough time for the floor discussion. Without further ado, let's start it. So first one, for Issa. Issa, please come to have your presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. I am Mr. Ensa Sadio, Head of the Economic Statistics Division on the National Agency of Statistics and Demography of Senegal. I have the honor to make a presentation on the compilation of environmentally extended supply and use tables on forestry in Senegal. My presentation includes an introduction, a brief presentation of Senegal, an overview on supply and use tables, compiled tables, methodology and data source, and on conclusion. For the introduction, we can say that develop environmental accounts according to the system of environmental economic accounting is important to improve the capacity of countries to plan, monitor, and report on progress and achievements. This importance justifies Senegal's commitment to a progress of preparing environmental accounts, particularly on forest and wood resource. To implement SEA and to follow environmental policy of Senegal, INSD and Ministry of Environment have signed a protocol. The objective of this protocol is to elaborate environmental accounts with the support of UNECA, FAO, and UN Environment. Brief presentation of Senegal. The area of Senegal is 196,000 square kilometers. For boundaries, we are Islamic Republic of Mauritania to the north, Mali to the east, Republic of Guinea to the southeast, and Guinea-Bissau to the south, and the Atlantic Ocean to the west. For administrative divisions, we have 14 regions, 45 departments, and 557 communes. The population of Senegal is 16 million in 29. Life expectancy is 67 years in 29. The GDP growth rate is 70% in 29. GDP per capita PPP is 2,776 in 2018. Inflation rate is 0.5% in 2018. Area of forest, 13 million and a half hectares, and deforestation is 18,000 hectares per year since 2010. Wood forest products are charcoals, lumber, service woods, handicrafts, and the no-wood forest products are foliage, gums, resins, pods, leaves, and barks. For the overview on supply and use tables, we can say that supply and use tables are matrix providing a data description of the domestic production processes and transactions in the products on the national economy by industry and production groups. They give an overview of the production structure cost, income generated in the production process, flows of goods and service products in the national economy, flows of goods and services destined abroad. The main statistical purposes are identification of gaps and inconsistencies in the source use, improved consistency, plausibility, and complementarity of data. The system of environmental and economic accounting for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, physical flows account for wood forestry products, records the flow in physical terms of wood products deriving from economic activities, ICAS A021, and lodging activities, ICAS A022. Conceptually, the system of environmental and economic accounting for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries expands its analysis to forestry products other than wood such as, for instance, resins and gums, mushrooms, wild owner, edible insects, which are derived from economic activities classified under ICAS A023, gathering on no-wood forest products. The physical supply table for the former of the physical supply table for forestry product are the following. We have the product of the columns and the branch in the line. We have forestry activities, lodging activities, other industry, and imports. The former for physical use table for timber product are the following. We have the product on the columns, and in the line we have intermediate consumption with the lodging industry, manufacturing industry, generator of industry products, husband final consummations with industry and other use, gross consummation formation, changes in inventories and exports. Senegal has compiled two tables, physical supply and use table and monetary supply and use table. The tables are the same. The physical tables are in tons, and the data relate here is 2017, and the monetary tables, the monetary use tables, is in millions of francs CFA. For the methodology, the data of production of wood products and production of no-wood products provided by departments of water and forest, and INSD, the National Agency of Statistics, provide estimation of the production of the different products by the national accounting data of companies, foreign trade statistics, intermediate consumption, final consumption of husbands. And we use also some spot studies on the sectors. The products that we use in the tables are roundwood, firewoods, industrial roundwoods, and for picking products and services, we use natural gums, picking products and other forest products. And for forest product and residues from processing, we use charcoal, chips, particle and wood residues, some products, vinous leaves, wood bed panels, papers and cardboards, processed wood article. The data processing. The compilation is based on the system of environmental and economic accounting for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. You use the classification of product according to the nomenclature of national accounts derived from the International Standard Industrial Classification, ICAS. Filling supply and use tables from the use of administrative data, national forest inventory, monitoring of lodging production, national account data, and research results. You use also a FAO conversion factor to reduce cubic meters to ton. And for to move monetary to physical, you use the value relative to its unit price, basic price, import price, and export price to convert it to ton. Accounting use at basic price to eliminate the effect of the trade margin to the monetary balancing. Distribution of intermediate consumption according to the recosting branch and of the national accounts. The program phases are online training on environmental extended supply and use tables, face-to-face training on environmental extended supply and use tables on Pretoria, technical committee workshop section in Senegal, and national workshop in Senegal, and regional workshop in Addis Ababa. For the conclusion, we can say that we have well-conducted forestry supply and the tables development process, a draft of available supply and use tables as well as a methodology note. And the process is important for the Senegalese authorities since it is part of the preparation of the environmental accounts, which was the subject of a partnership agreement between ANSD and the Ministry of Environmental and Sustainable Development. This project should make it possible to better understand the state and the degradation of the environment and save us an advance to improve forest sector governance. Our looks for 2020, elaboration of land use accounts, energy accounts, and water resource accounts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Next, let's have Mohammed. Presentation title is the application of environmental extended supply use table on forestry in Senegal. Objectives and lesson learned.
This one? Yes.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mohamedou Bassirou Diouf. I'm a statistician, national accountant. I work at National Agency of Statistics and Demography in Senegal. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you the application of environmental extended supply use table on forestry in Senegal, objectives and lessons learned. The outline of my presentation is the introduction, the importance of extended environmental supply and use table on forestry, the stakeholders, the limits and challenges, the main lessons learned from the compilation, and the conclusion. In introduction, we can say that the impact of human activity on the environment has become one of the most important issues facing governments. The effect of each country's economic activity on the local and global environment is of growing concern. Maintaining economic growth and quality of life depends on the benefits of the environment. It is important to question how natural heritage is used. For example, the following questions are asked. Are resources extracted too quickly without any prospect of replacement? Does economic activity generate a level of pollution that exceeds the absorptive capacity of the environment or harms the health and well-being of humanity? Importance of environmental extended supply and use table on forestry. Senegal's environmental policy focuses on the rational management of natural resources with a view to sustainable development. However, for a better consideration of both economic development issues and good environmental management, it is important to have reliable and up-to-date statistics on the environment. Thus, the National Agency for Statistics and Demography and the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development initiated a project to assess the contribution of the environment to GDP and develop the CEA environment, the CEA with the support of the Economic Commission for Africa, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, and the UN Environment. Forest accounts provide improved sustainability indicators that include the total value of forest assets and the net cost of deforestation and land use change. The use of forest account data can contribute significantly to poverty reduction throughout the conservation and sustainable management of forest potential throughout inter alia the coherent implementation of the decentralization and cooperation policy in the framework of local, international and international convention, sub-regional partnership. Conserve forest potential and ecological balances to guarantee in a sustainable manner the satisfaction of people's need in wood and non-wood forest products. Monitor the dynamics of vegetation and biodiversity. Develop a management plan. Contribute to food security by improving the nutritional status of population. The stakeholders from application of supply and use table are National Agency of Statistics and Demography, the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development, the Institute of Environmental Sciences, and Consortium for Economic and Social Research. The limits to compile supply and use table are the absence of up-to-date wood resource data, the difficulties for the full accounting of timber flows, in particular the levies. To overcome these limits, we must have regular realization of a forest inventory. In the absence of inventories, reinforce the use of permanent plots to update forest resources, use of international databases to address data gaps at the national level. How Senegal has dealt with the challenges. The realization of the CAFF physical and monetary extended environmental supply and use table for forestry products required the collection of various data. In fact, due to the lack of up-to-date wood supply data, the last forest inventory dates back to 2004. For most wood and non-timber products, production served as a balanced item, given that Directorate of Water and Forest, Hunting and Soil Conservation gives only controlled production. Moreover, with the consumption budget survey data and the statistical and fiscal declaration of the companies, we have a better visibility of uses than of the supply side. As for the difficulties of data conversion, to better highlight the depletion of resources, FAO conversion factors were used. For this purpose, each type of product has a conversion factor to move from cubic meters to tons and vice versa. However, the conversion of the net annual increment was done using the average of the conversion factors of all types of standing timber in the forest. In the specific case of physical accounts, data from wood processing products are often in value. To reduce them in physical quantity, an implicit price was calculated from the foreign trade data, and these prices were compared to the values according to the coherence and the economic reality of the type of products. We have two main lessons learned from the compilation of supply and use table. First, this process its success depends on combination of efforts with the establishment of multidisciplinary working groups, national accountants, economists, forests, and related ministries and offices, technical support from international agencies as FAO for forestry accounts may facilitate the respect of the international guidelines and standards. Another lesson learned would have been the support of Economic Commission for Africa and Food and Agriculture Organization throughout the process. In conclusion, we can say the implementation of the system of environmental and economic accounting for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries enable the inventory organization, management, and providing of integrated social, environmental, and economic information on forests, their sustainability and real contribution to national economy. From the SIA, AAF, and the central framework SIA can be derived physical and or monetary indicators in line with Sustainable Development Goals, inclusive of key relevant information on Senegal, environment and economy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. As you can see, our group is very disciplined. Everyone just exactly 10 minutes. We have a discussion from Ali, and then to comment on those two papers from Senegal. And we should have enough time at the end for the floor discussion. Ali, your floor, please.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much to be here. Good evening. So I am Ali Yedan. I work on United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. So I am also the coordinator of the Forestry project, and especially in Senegal. So now for a few minutes, I would like to discuss on the two first papers. So the papers are compilation of environmental extended supply and use table on forests in Senegal. That is presented by Mr. Insa Sadio, the head of the Economic Statistics Division. And also the second paper that you have learned is the application of environmental extended supply use table on forests in Senegal, objective and lesson learned. That is presented by Mr. Momadou Bassirou Diouf, statistician and national account. So all the presenters work on Senegal National Statistics Office. So that is the name, Agence Nationale de Statistique et de la Démographie. So the National Statistics Office of Senegal is the leader of the compilation on forestry in Senegal. But it is not only the National Statistics Office, there is also the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. This is also the stakeholder of this project. There is also the Institute of Environmental, Social, and also a Check and Job University. But a part of the national stakeholder, there are also the international support, like the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, that I am from, and also we have the country is, there is also support from FAO, that my professor said. So how Senegal has compiled this data. So they have used the implementation of SEEA 2012 using ICAS and CPC, ICAS for industry and CPC for product. Also, they combine with the national environmental policy, the environmental policy in Senegal. So for the combination of these two parts, the countries have compiled the physical supply and use table and the monetary supply and use table. So now I would like to say the importance of the papers. At first, for the economic importance of the papers, you know that the forestry is very important for the protection of the environment, the environmental protection. So for this, the compilation can provide the guidelines to follow up the environmental protection. Also, it allows for monitoring and evaluation of SDG, especially SDG 15. We know that forestry can contribute currently and directly to the GDP and well-being of the population. We have also the future contribution of forestry on the population that are natural capital and sustainable development. Protecting the forest or determining the table of forestry can also protect animal and vegetable.
for scientific importance of the paper, so the paper of my colleagues from Senegal explain the methodology, the data source, the classification that the countries have adopted to compile the table that is the SUT table, monetary and physical. Well, also, the papers show also the challenges and how the country has dealt with the challenges or solved the problem. And also, the paper, there is a close relationship with the agricultural statistics. That is the topic of this conference. The paper can contribute also to the agricultural statistics. For the importance of the partnership that my colleague just say, there is national collaboration because there are many institutions that give the effort to do the compilation. There is also international collaboration, UNECA, UN Environmental, and FAO. So for this, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa has doing the capacity building program for several countries. Senegal is one of the pilot countries. There are e-training, face-to-face seminar, national workshops, study travels. So to finish, my suggestion for the paper and for the compilation is to produce a manual and practical methodology guidelines for compilation, especially in Senegal. Also to explain clearly in the paper how another country can compile EU SITA in forestry. For example, if one country in the world has never compiled the forestry, the EU SITA in forestry, how this country can use this paper to do this. My first suggestion is to show in the papers what was the individual role of each of the stakeholders. Yes, I said that the paper is very well written, but they say that what the team has done, but they didn't say who do what, just who do what, which institution does what. And also to develop a lot more lessons learned from the compilation. In the paper, there is just one paragraph or one or two paragraphs for the lesson learned. So I think that it is possible to develop this that can mobilize another country to do this compilation. And also to invite and motivate users to exploit your data without moderation. So if we compile the data, the intention is that another one can use this statistic or this data for policy, for development of the country or another thing. So the country has to invite and motivate users to exploit their data. And to finish, the country also should publish their papers in the review to reach an international target. So for this, if they can publish, it's a very good thing. Not that so they do some paper and keep in the office. That is my comment of the paper. Thank you very much.
We made a very comprehensive summary from organization, intellectual, subjects, strengths, and weakness. So you make it my life as a chair very easy. Let's continue. We have next presenter, Salah from Cameroon. Yes. Made a presentation on data collection for the compilation of a forestry account in Cameroon. Salah, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Salah Marcel from Cameroon, a senior forestry staff working with the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife. I have the honor to present to you the data collection on wood production in Cameroon, the accuracy for compilation of forest accounts. And my colleague will later on present to you the experience we have gone through in the compilation of the forest account. And before I get in detailed presentation, I would like to use this opportunity to express the country's appreciation for the assistance we've received from UNECA and FAO to start this process, and we hope that we'll be able to continue because it's very interesting. So the plan of my presentation, I will have a brief introduction. I will talk about the importance and application of forest account, the stakeholders involved in data collection in Cameroon, the data collection mechanism itself, how it works, how do we get information on forestry, the challenges and some solutions that we've proposed, the main lesson, and a conclusion. In introduction, we want to highlight that forests fulfill a number of functions and are vital for humanity, including the provision of goods like wood, like non-timber forest products, services such as habitat for biodiversity, carbon sequestration, soil and water conservation. Cameroon has a significant forest heritage of around 22.5 million hectares, and this represents close to 45% of the national territory, with around 18 million exploitable and an annual potential production of 7 million cubic meter per year. The contribution of the forestry sector is around 4% to the Cameroon's non-oil GDP, and the sector also contributes to the employment of around 35,000 permanent jobs. The importance of environmentally extended supply use tables on forestry. We want to highlight that high quality economic and environmental statistics are important inputs for policy formulation and decision making. And the environmentally extended supply and use tables is a first step towards the measurement and establishment of environmental and natural capital accounts. The system for environmental economic accounting for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries that is currently under experimentation in Cameroon provides an excellent platform for us to review available data based on the existing data collection mechanism, and to appreciate the quality of the data that is available, and if needs be, to take adequate measures for missing data. How is forest account important? Forest accounts have many applications. They enable the country identify development priorities, baseline, and targets. They directly help the country to measure, monitor, and evaluate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. In particular, Goal 15, as you know, that talks about protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystem. And these accounts can help us provide information for indicator 1511, 1521, 1542. They also play a key role in evidence-based planning, policy, and decision-making. Now, talking about the stakeholders that are involved in the process of compiling forest account and in data collection, we have mainly the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife, the Ministry of Environment and Nature Protection, the National Agency for Reforestation, the National Institute of Statistics. We have Customs Services, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the Food and Agriculture Organization. Now, the data collection mechanism in place in Cameroon. The statistical data on forest activities are collected at different levels. In the context of this presentation, we are interested in data on wood forest products. Monetary and wildlife data are not taken into account. To help ensure the quality and availability of information, the government, and specifically the Ministry of Forestry, is organized in centralized and decentralized services. The decentralized services are responsible, they are present in all the regions, divisions, and subdivisions, and their role is to implement the forestry regulation, collect and transmit statistics on forest activities to the central unit. At the central administration, all field informations are collected, compiled, and verified. And for greater efficiency, the central unit is organized into different structures and equipped with adequate application. And I would love to highlight some of them. We have, for example, the computerized forest information management system. This application issues logging permits and certificates on the areas of forest, species and volume that are authorized for exploitation. The system compiles harvesting documents returned after exploitation by wood operators, mainly species, diameters, volume. And the data that are recorded enable the country to generate information on wood production, like species and volume that are exploited. And it can also generate information for several years. We can generate data for 20 years back, and this makes it easy to appreciate changes over time. We also have a waybill management system. This waybill management system is in charge of issuing documents for wood transportation. We have waybills to transport logs, we have waybills to transport processed wood, and these documents are organized in such a way that you have copies at different levels. You have a copy at the regional level, divisional level, subdivisional, and the central level. So it makes it possible to compare the information received from the different services. We can also mention a database on wood processing unit. This one focuses on processing industries. And here we record data on the wood processing unit themselves, the volume and nature of products that are processed in these structures. It compiles data from wood entering the factory, wood transported, and the activity report that are sent by the operators. And this enable us to generate informations like species, volume, processed product, and their various destinations. And lastly, I would love to mention the exported wood compilation system. The Forest Administration has specialized services at the level of ports for the registration of timber and processed wood specifications before exportation. These services, they work closely with the custom services, and they collect all pre-shipment information, like exporting companies, destination, species, nature of products, and volume. Now, talking about challenges and solutions, our main challenge is about the data. Data from the field are not always transmitted on time to the central administration. Data are managed by many services, making it difficult to have necessary information at a given time. So at time when you need some information, you need to go through the different services to gather this information. As solution to this, the ministry has put in place an operational statistical unit that is responsible of centralizing all the data and produce yearly statistical report on the forestry sector. We have been doing this since 2014. So, what lesson can we take from the data collection mechanism in place? Available and compatible data for the environmentally extended supply and use table, we estimate it presently at 60% of data that is useful of high quality, 15% for partially available data, and 25% for non-available data. And if some efforts like scientific estimate and exploring studies that are done in this field are made, 75% of information needed for the extended supply use table can be provided. For missing and unavailable data, it is recommended to develop appropriate methodologies and put in place mechanisms for long-term information collection. To conclude, the forest account development experience in Cameroon allow us to review data collection mechanism and to assess their level of reliability. Analysis show that 60% of data are reliable, and an effort to estimate partially available data will take us to 75% credible data. For missing data, representing around 25%, the development of effective methodology is necessary, as well as the establishment of mechanism for regular collection and reporting. And in this line, the technical and financial support is necessary. Further assessment and collection of information are needed to have, at the end of this process, forest accounts that are in accordance with the system of environmental economic accounting central framework and its official methodological document for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. The assistance of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa and FAO is of great importance for the country to proceed in forest and forestry product account compliant with international standards. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Salah. You may hear some of a repetition, but you imagine we moved from one part of Africa to the other. Senegal is West Africa, and Cameroon is Central Africa. Another thing is like all our colleagues are French speaking, and then they try to make the efforts to put in their paper and the presentation in English. We have another presentation on the compilation of the forestry account in Cameroon, and by Issoufou. Issoufou, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I am Issoufou Saidou Sanda. I am a statistician at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and I had the opportunity to support the team of Cameroon in compiling this forestry account. So this presentation was not done by me, by Mr. Carlos Defo from the National Statistical Institute. Unfortunately, he was not able to come here, so I'm just trying to fill in the gap. So my colleague has already presented the overview of what we have been doing on forestry account in Cameroon. So I'm just going to continue on the same line. I will make a brief presentation of Cameroon, and then I will give the context in which the project has been done. Then I will go through some conceptual or definition about the supply and uses table before coming back to the problems that we have with the data sources, and then the result, most importantly, the results that we could have. So here is a presentation of the map of Cameroon. So you have information about the population, the GDP, the forest. So what is important to say is Cameroon is in Central Africa, and at the United Nations Economic for Africa, we have been really promoting economic diversification in these countries, because these countries have a lot of natural resources, water, forest, and everything. But when you look at the production, the export, you will see that they are only specialized on a few raw products that are not even transformed. So they are not even high in the value chain. And we want them to diversify the economy. And as a way of diversifying, we are telling them, why don't you use this natural resource that you have? You have forest, you have water, you need to use them. But if you want to use, of course, the environment to boost the economy, you have to pay attention also on the impact of the economy on the environment. So for us, this project was really welcome, because it will allow us to know, at the same time we are using the natural resources to boost the economy, we also can monitor the impact of what we are doing. So this is why it's so important for us at ECA. The project, the way it started, I think it has already been said by my colleagues. It was a project by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and they wanted to promote the implementation of the system of environmental and economic accounting, the central framework. So they have invited our colleagues to an online course, then a face-to-face regional workshop, and then after these courses, Cameroon was lucky enough to be selected as a pilot country to compile forestry account. And at the same time, they have received an assistance from FAO. So this is how the project is started. So concerning the supply and uses table, I think it's a kind of repetition. We know that they are really a statistical tool for measuring these flows that goes from the environment to the economy. And it's important to say that they are in line with the system of national account, because the system of national account, of course, is our de facto standard for measuring the economy. So everything we are doing, we really need to make sure that it is consistent with this central framework, that is the SNA. So we can also say that they are flows, and then there are also stocks. So we can measure in flow and we can measure in stock, and we also can say that we have the physical and the monetary. So these are important for what is coming after. So what physical supply and uses table do is recording the flow of the resources that goes from the environment to the economy. So from the time you have the woods in the forest, maybe you have a tree, you cut it, you transport it, you bring it to, and then it is transformed into a chair, and then the chair is used, and maybe when it become, I don't know, broken, we threw it away in the environment. So we have all this cycle. It comes from the environment, enters the economy, it is transformed, and it goes back to the environment. So really, the ambition is to capture all this cycle. Of course, we cannot do all of it, but we are trying to do our best. So in Cameroon, we have decided to focus mostly on supply and use table for timber resources, because this is what is important for the economy. As I have already said, there were a lot of challenges and we couldn't do everything. We needed to focus on what can really quick start the project and already have some useful result. And most importantly, we have ICAS Division 2, Forestry and Logging, and then the 021 and 022. So this is where we have been focusing on in the presentation. So this is the structure that we are trying to produce. For here it is blank because this is a recommended structure, but what we have on the top is a physical supply table. So this is where you see where the products are coming from. You have the products on the left, and then where they are coming from, the activities like logging, like other industry, forestry. And then below you have also the use table. It is the same thing, but now it is where the products are going. So we have where they are coming from, we have where they are going. We will have captured the cycle of the product. In Cameroon, the methodological approach, as I guess my colleague have mentioned, we are where the statistical system is weak, so we didn't have that much data. We try to do the best with the data that we have to compile. And then we also try to focus on really some branches where we have enough information to collect the data. So forestry and logging. So you will see on the first bullet, manufacture and wood products, generation of energy product, and other industry, electric power generation. Just to say that it's not everything, but it's what we believe is the most important. Concerning the data sources, my colleague have mentioned the challenges. We have been using statistical yearbook, regular statistical production, and national account statistic. So these are for the administrative data. We have been using also survey and census, Cameroonian Household and Living Survey, ECAM, employment survey, the population and housing census of 2005. There is a more recent population and housing census, but the results are preliminary. And then the data, the supply and use table we are producing is for 2015. So this is why it has not been used. And then we have the other non-conventional data sources. So the FAO International Statistical Database, where we can get the data. Well, maybe it's a little odd that we don't have data at the national level, and then we go and get it at the international level. But this is how things are for now. So when we don't have the data at the national, we can get it as a FAO. Then we have forest assessment, and then some studies that are done by the Ministry of Forestry. But these studies are really very on specific subject, on specific areas. But if we don't have better information, then we can use these ones as proxies. So as I have mentioned, the problem with the data has limited us to using really some specific products. So we are insisting mostly on fieldwood and charcoals, because these one are forest product. Part of it goes to the industries that are using for the production, and parts of it goes to the household. So both of these are very difficult to capture because for the household, you need to have a good household survey, and for the industry, you need to have correct record from the companies. And all these two sides are missing. So it was an opportunity also to see the gaps in collecting our data. So without going further, this is the result that we were able to have. So this is the physical supply table. You can see that most of the products is from logging activities, not because these are the only existing activity, but this is where we can get the information. So you see that we have a lot of logging, then it goes into output and into the supply. And how is this product used? You will see that we are here, manufacturing industry mostly. Then we have also some kind of final use, energy consumption, and then we have export. So for the conclusion and the way forward, we will say that it was an opportunity for us to see the weakness of the statistical system when it's come to forestry. So the project is not only building a supply and use table, it's also building the capacity of the country, the institutional capacity, and also the human resources capacity to produce this supply and use table. We had to use some assumptions, of course. It was said by my colleagues before, in order to have something, so we can say the results are preliminary. We were able to get a good result, integrated and comprehensive. It's already meaningful what we have for now, but of course we know that we can extend it. And then for the future, the goals are, first, carry out additional data collection of fur, because there are not enough surveys, so we will advocate for that. We will advocate for the organization of a new national forest inventory. Then, of course, there is a plan to extend the supply and use table that you have for now to integrate more product as the capacity is coming. And finally, on the institutional side, we need to set up something permanent to produce it, because for the time it's a temporary team, but we really need to make something permanent that will be in the national statistical system. So this is for the presentation. Thank you.
Much, Christopher. Because in ECA, Economic Commission for Africa, we have a 5 sub-regional office. So Christopher in the regional office of Central Africa, so stationed in Cameroon. So actually he's working closely with the team together. We have another presentation, the final presentation from Morocco. And again, we have a sub-region office in Morocco. And Isidore is a statistician in the office. So again, working closely with the Morocco team. And for some reason, Morocco was not able to come. And Isidore is going to make the presentation. Isidore, please.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Isidore Kawi. I'm working with INECA. I'm a colleague of Greg. And I base in INECA office in North Africa. Our duty station is based in Morocco. Though in this work, this project, I'm supporting Morocco to do this project. I'm the intermediate between Morocco and the headquarters to facilitate the work. So the Morocco team couldn't make this travel. So I will try to make the presentation on behalf of them. And as you have seen, the presentation are almost the same, because the 3 countries have supported by INECA and FAO. So the technical assistance is the same, the process is the same, the methodology is the same, but the only thing we can highlight is how each country adapt this methodology for his national system statistical. So the outline of this presentation will be first a quick introduction. I will talk quickly on the context of forest account in Morocco. Coming to the importance and application of forest account, rapidly I will share with you the stakeholder who is working on this project in Morocco, how SAU table is compiled, and also some challenge and opportunity. Before I will just highlight why Morocco is embarking on this project. Based in Morocco, I have seen that there are some studies who shows that forests took a big place in the national economy in Morocco. But in the same time, there is no a real and a concrete figure who shows how forest took a wide place in the economy. You see that here, Morocco has a significant forest heritage of 9 million hectares, with which represent 8% of the country total area, with 5.8 million hectares of woods. But at the same time, the contribution of the forest sector is around 2% of the primary sector, but 0.4 at a global level. And the debate is that forests contribute a lot to the economy, but in terms of figure, the government is willing how the researchers are populating those information. This is why the Morocco took the opportunity which offered by ECA to them to join on this project. Something important, there is 8 million of the population who benefit of the advantage of the rights of these sectors, with approximately 50,000 direct permanent jobs per year. So there's some information, but they want to be more, to go deep, and to show how forest is contributing to their economy. Here also, I will not go through because they are the same. The information has been shared by the colleague. That the United Nations have the role to play in Africa to improve countries to use the international standard of statistics to help United Nations to compare within other continents what is the improvement of the development. And Morocco also benefits of the same advantage with the two other countries. Importance also is look the same, because the Morocco is using the supply and use table, physical and monetary, and also based on the SEE AFF, and the ICAS and FAO are the one who's supporting the technical assistance. So I will go quickly for the application. What Morocco, the application for them is to ensure better monitoring of natural resources, how to gather also the other services provided by the forest in Morocco. Not only woods, but also there are other services like ecotourism, like many issues, because you know that Morocco is a country where they receive a lot of tourists. So they want to know how forests also contribute to those issues. It's up to them to evaluate the role of multifunctionality played by forests in terms of wood producer and other services related to the national economy. And up to the country to identify its development priorities and objectives, and also participate in planning, policy formulation, and evidence-based decision-making, and also assist to measure, monitor, and evaluate sustainable development goals like Objective 7 and 15. In Morocco, the stakeholders are not large like you have seen in the other countries. In Morocco, we have only 3 main partners who is working. The first partner is the High Commission of the Plan, who is played the role of National Statistical Office in the countries. And this is the second institution who have also a great role is the High Commission for Water and Forest. They are the ones who evaluate the potential and all the development of forests in Morocco. And then we have also the Ministry of Agriculture, which play also a great role. And ICA and FAO. We have also some external experts which provide the experts which share with them how to strengthen the compilation of the accounts. So the Morocco supply and use table are a statistical and analytical framework provided by the System of National Accounts for the compilation of reliable national accounts. As you describe the flow of product in the economy from the product of production or importation, like consumption, production by industries, and capital formation export. The SEACF provide 2 main categories of accounts, both in physical and monetary terms. Flow of accounts that record for the flow between economy and environment, and asset accounts which focus on environmental and economic assets and their stocks to keep track of related possible depletion. And the physical flows are recorded in physical supply table used, physical supply and use table. Almost, the physical supply use table records the flow of resources from the environment to the economy, natural inputs, within the economy products, and between the economy and the environment, residual. Is an extension of SNA, monetary SUT, through the addition of column and row, especially for flow between the economy and the environment. They specifically incorporate a column for the environment and rows for natural input and residual. So here, for the table, we use for the product, the category of the product and the production, we use international standard industrial statistics, and also the central product classification provided by FAO. In Morocco, they base the compilation on the 2014 years. Why? 2014 years is the reference year that they are using now, because they are in the way they are changing the new national system account. They are shifting to SNA 28, and the 2014 it was the year where they have a lot of the huge statistics. They have census, they have a survey on employment, they have a lot of the information, and they prefer to use this year for the compilation of the forest accounts. And the list of the products are as follow. You see they have the product of a category A2 forest, the product of C20 chemical and from industry, the list of the product of the element they use. They have the net annual increment. We have filling residue, removal on the backpack, and also there is some non-wood product like argan oil, carob, over. So they are not wood, product wood. They are not all wood. So they want that those products should be involved, should be taken into account, because the argan oil is one of the important products in Morocco, and it will be incorrect to compile a account on forest without taking in account argan oil. So these are the elements that they use to justify why. In terms of data sources, we explore a lot of data sources. Like the first data source we use is a structural surveys. We use a national survey of economic structure, a national survey of the informal sector, survey of household living standard for 2007, tourism demand survey, administrative entity survey. And for the administrative statistic, we take the data from foreign trade statistics and the balance of payment, activity reports, and the annual statistic published by main services, administration, private sector, and the organization. We use also the annual survey, like a survey of processing industries, survey on crops and livestock, survey on construction, trade and services, and also some statistical indices for the physical to the monetary supply use table. In terms of methodology, the physical supply table is based on silviculture production. We're also on production of forest exploitation, and most of the data come from the High Commission of Forest, and also the forest residue and back are estimated in terms of 10% of gross felling and removal. Those information were provided by Department of Forest, and also the importation data from statistical exchange, and also production of an over industry due to some lack of data. We use the data from FAO database for 2014. The same of physical use table and exportation. You have there are some conversion which we did, and those conversion is based on the tool provided by FAO And I will share quickly with you some challenge and opportunity doing this compilation in Morocco. There is need to carry. They think that it's important to do some studies because due to the challenge facing to have substantive data to show the importance of the forest, it will be better to do a huge study and to help them to gather a quality and more information. Collection products such as argan nuts, acorns, mushroom, wild honey, and other products. They think that they will do more data collection on those issues to get accurate information. And also, secondary production must be considered like inline fishing, gum, and other non-forest products produced within the forest. It will be important to have the information on those issues. And also, in terms of the evaluation in the monetary SU table, they think it will be better to use the recommendation from SNA 28 on the type of the price to use to convert the physical to the monetary. And also the importance of taking into account the ecosystem services of the forest in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isidore. Next, we have a comment from discussion. Juka is a senior advisor in the Finance Statistics Office, and is our expert to support, to guide the country team working in this area, along with the experts from FAO. Chuka, please.
Okay, thanks. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I come from Statistical Office of Finland, which is a country of forests and the only real Santa Claus. I regularly work for Statistics Finland, but now I have had the opportunity to work for the Economic Commission of Africa as well. Thank you very much for that, Greg. And thank you very much of all excellent and well-prepared presentations. I think you make things very easy for me, so I don't have to spend 10 minutes here. Leaves more time for you. So what we have seen and heard in the presentations is that all three countries work on forest accounts. And I forgot to say, although my headline was Cameroon and Morocco, Senegal is also in my heart, so this is all three countries. So all countries have good motivation to do forest accounts. It's a bit different if you think about economic, environmental, or social reasons. But anyway, motivation is high. We have seen that there have much cooperation between domestic and international stakeholders, which is a very important thing in this kind of pilot work, or in accounting in general, in fact. We need to have both compilers and users of the statistics work together. We have seen the main steps of the work, which are rather similar in all countries, but there are differences. We have seen problems that have been solved, and some problems that will be solved later, some of them quite detailed level. We have seen pilot tables and accounts, which again, the formula, basic formula is the same, but there are differences. And they are very important to see that there are really numbers in those tables, so we can see that these things can be done. It is not only theory, but it is practice as well. And those tables and this whole effort of forest accounting, they are country-specific applications of the frameworks and tables of the SEA Central Framework and SEA for Agriculture, Forestry and Fishery. And we have also seen interest to ecosystem account approach. So the focus has been in flows, perhaps mostly in physical flows, but to some extent also in monetary flows. Increment removals, use of food by sectors, production of food-based productions and sectors and so on. But for the future work, the connection of flows to area and timber stocks is also very important from the point of view of natural capital and sustainable development goals, for example. And then the importance of flows of non-timber products and services of forest. They are well noticed in the work, although there is a lot of challenges on data availability. This is rather new area for statisticians and for accountants. But anyway, I can see that there's a remarkable start already towards forest ecosystem accounting, which is even larger than forest accounting. It is few years ahead, but it can be done, and I think that it will be done. So with these words, I would like to invite to ask questions and give comments and encourage you to start compilation of forest accounts in your own countries if you haven't started already. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuka. So you have heard the practice, as I mentioned earlier, from West Africa to Central Africa to North Africa, and 3 sub-regions in Africa. And I also like to point out that this is the team is the pioneer in 2 senses. Number one, it's almost the first team to compile forestry account in Africa. The second is the first team, as far as we know, to implement SEA, agriculture, forestry, and fishery after it's compiled. So being the last sessions of the day, we have the luxury we can use as much time as you like and before dinner. So as long as you have the appetite to discuss, the floor is yours. Please, thanks. Yes, please. You may introduce yourself before your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for all the presenters. I am Ibrahim Attal from Senegal. I work also at the National Agency for Statistics and Demography. So I was very excited and pleased to see the presentation of my colleagues. I have one request for especially the first presentation. He mentioned the net annual increment. So I would like to know how did he estimate this net annual increment in the supply table that he showed. So thank you.
So the question may adjust to different countries. So let's just have a direct conversation. If you feel you're comfortable to answer, yes, please.
Thank you, Ibrahima. Donc, he asked a question on the estimation of net annual agreement. We can say that you use a study of Jacques Hébert and Jacques Rondeus on the estimate of forest growth and production using concentric permanent plots. It is a study that you use to estimate the net agreement, the net growth agreement.
Okay, thanks. Let's move. Feel free to provide your intervention.
Thank you. And my name is Peter, a PhD student agricultural statistics in India Agricultural Research Institute. When I stepped in, I met a gentleman presenting about data from Morocco. So I'm directing my question to him. In one of the slides, he talked about the supply, estimations of supply, and he said they're going to consider the base year as 2014. And so they're talking about supply of forest and forest products. But if you think about forest, and one of the major products that we usually will think about is also timber. I want to find out whether timber is considered as part of what they are working on. And if so, have you thought about the estimation of volumes of the timber species? Because this is a major aspect of forest products. I'm asking this because currently there are a lot of issues in some African countries with a lot of foreign, European, or Chinese coming into this country trying to take wood products, mainly timber products. And this is where the governments of the various countries and their local people are having issues to dialogue with, because people feel, let the products stay in the country, be used in the country. And by whatever government interventions, they are allowing some of these products to be carried away. A good example is recently in Ghana, there was a case of redwood. So that is why I'm asking whether you've considered timber in particular, and then estimations of the volumes. By so we can know how much timber is available in Morocco. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. The process in Morocco, they consider the timber, but you know, in Morocco, the exportation is on woods. The government doesn't allow to export timber. So what is done is, I will say that is a retrospective. We use the volume of woods now and to come back to the volume of timber. So this is why here we don't put timber as now, but we are working because there is some process. There are some percentage, some issues which the team are discussing and want to clarify. So definitively, the physical table will be based on the timber.
Yes, please.
My name is Salika from Lao Statistics Bureau. I'm also national account. So I have just want to share experience about, and then want to learn from you, because we also planning to conduct the environment account. And right now we are doing an energy account and also pilot on a material flow account. So the forest account is also something in our line plan for futures, because our main country export also before is timber, but right now the government stopped timber, maybe the same in Morocco, and then we are moving to wood products. So this is keen for government to know how much we have in the forest. So I think come back to the environment account is really big challenge for the data source. So I think you done a great job for that. So my concern is when I look at your representation, that I'm still haven't seen that how you dealing with the stock and inventory informations, that how you come up with those, because come up with some survey and census may not cover those information. That's the first one. The second one is also I found that when we compile supply and use table, supply side may be easier, but use side is the most hard one. So I found that I'm not sure that how you dealing with compile on information aggregate by especially the business that using this kind of wood product or from forestry. So do you plan to have some separate or small pilot since survey for those, or how you accommodate that? Thank you.
Oh, you like to reply, please? Mohammed? No? Yeah, okay, Isto, please.
Okay, I will try to reply to your questions. But you know, in Morocco, there is a lot of challenge, because first, forest is like for Morocco, there are a lot of ecosystem of forest, and some of the ecosystem are how we tell it, is a stock where no one should not touch, and there are some where they can exploit. They can use for woods for some element. Though this in national statistics, it's difficult for them. It's difficult for them to get the entire information on the volume of forest in Morocco. This is why first they ask to have a study or census to know what is the capital of forest in the country. You know, the other things, like I explained earlier, they have some industries who transform timber to woods, and also they use some estimation based on construction index and also other index. So this is what they are doing now. They are trying to get information using those elements, but definitively they think that they should have a census or a study on each ecosystem to get the real information on volume on the forest.
Response? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, this answer will be very round. But usually the situation really is that the accountants, whatever they are, national accountants, forest accountants, they much more know about flows than the assets. And so I think it's very good that we start from the flows because we understand the importance of the asset via that way. And we can put pressure on the politicians and those who finance us that we should have better information about the assets so we would know what is the role of the flows if we relate it to the assets. And this is one of the messages of the forest accounting pilots. More efforts on the assets. And for the asset, it is not enough that we know the assets of timber. We have to know the asset of land area, of different kind of forest areas, which are in different kind of uses. So that's my general answer for that. Thank you.
User side and the supply side. She mentioned the supply side is easy and the user side how to deal with the flows.
Yes, I can continue. So this is correct. I think it's not maybe necessarily the same for, if you think about forests only or timber products. Basically, I think in every country where there is use of timber, the users know exactly how much they use. So it's about how to collect the information from them. You can collect it directly from the users. It may be easy if there are some big users only, some big companies, although they are not very eager to give the exact information. That's the problem, of course. But that's another thing, that there should be some pressure from the political side. If you need statistics, and when you need statistics, you will have the authority to ask for the data from the enterprises as well. So you can get better information on the use side. And you don't have to use estimates, which are in fact based on the supply side in many cases.
In Morocco, they use how we call it, consumer service supplies, household consumer survey. So this is what they use to get, to estimate your household survey, to estimate the volume of the use.
Notice some of the presentation here mentioned about this environmentally extended SUT. We call it ESUT. That's one approach we try it because for all the country here, they done this first time. But these are the countries they already compile supply use table based on national accounts. So there, if we check the supply use table, may give you also indication to say the user, who are those major users in the industries of use the forestry products. And also to take supply use table, as we know, like you mentioned, your national accountants. Supply use table, of course, basically is to describe the flow. And then, as Chuka mentioned, flow is important. Of course, the stock and assets also important. But we realize it's very difficult. So we start from supply use table. But then we have to go to the balance sheets, and so that'll be challenging. Thanks. Yes, please.
Thank you once again. My question is directed, excuse me, sir, to you. Sorry for pointing the hand at you. Yes, I'm glad to hear that you have extensive knowledge and have worked for such a long time on that aspect. And currently, you mentioned of 2 countries in Africa. I don't know about other countries outside Africa and what may be happening. But in the West African sub-region, I know of the problem of leakage And when I say leakage, this is what I mean. In some countries, they have established what they call forest gas in terms of protecting forest products, because people try to go in and take the forest products, either the timber or whatever. They try to fetch it, harvest it either prematurely or inappropriately. And so these are being established. But even with those efforts from the various governments, there are still problems of leakages, whereby some of the harvesting that are being done from the forest of the products are not passing through the formally documented means so that it can be captured in the data. And with your extensive knowledge and work, I wonder whether you have suggestions or have come up with solutions as to how to be able to capture this other data that is not passing through that well-documented system. In some cases, I'm giving an example. In some cases, some of the forest gas even involve in illegal harvesting of the forest products. When they are supposed to be protected, they tend to try to make money out of it by harvesting it. Or the local community who are living by the forest is located in a community, and the people feel they have right to it, it is their property, and they may attempt, and these are being done, sometimes people are being arrested. So is there a suggested way, or maybe you've come up with some ways that can be used to be able to capture this other component of data? Because until we are able to capture the formal data and then this other component, whatever we capture is not the actual data we are getting from the forest setup. Thank you.
Chuka, please.
Okay, thank you for the very difficult question. You know, I sometimes have said in the consultation that for an accountant it may be very dangerous to ask too much questions about these informal cuttings or illegal cuttings. This is a very many-sided question, because I think in many cases people in fact have the right to do that. That's not, forest can be and should be exploited by the local people as well as the big companies and things like that. But really how to get the information of that, because you really cannot go and ask. You have to rely on opinions and expert estimates of that. I haven't heard of any data basis for that. Of course, if you do the supply use tables, you know you have the supply and use, and then you compare it and you have the balance. And of course, you can say that one reason for the unbalance is this informal sector. But it may be that sometimes the role of the informal sector may be exaggerated as well. Sometimes it can be hidden, don't speak about this, things like that. But really, I haven't heard from any country any advices on how to do this. Because this is, in European countries, this is not really a problem. There is some amount of it, but it's marginal. So we don't really give too much attention to that. The forests are well guarded and there are social pressures for the neighbors and so on. So it's not a big issue in many countries that I know best. But I think doing the supply use tables, this is the first thing. And the other one is to ask the experts, officials, and try to figure out the average opinion for that. I think there might be some people who would help you much better than I do, but I really have no expertise on this, and I do not have any experience on this. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I guess in Africa it's a big problem. Maybe it might not be a big issue in other countries, but for us, the informal sector, informal economy, we are always dealing with it. But what I wanted to say is that in statistics in general, we have a lot of methodologies for capturing what we call illegal activities. It depends on the nature of the activity. but for each of them we are aware of it and we have specific methodology. This is why these tables are very important, because they are very comprehensive and we are looking at different data sources. For example, when we are doing the household survey, we can see that the consumption of wood of the household is higher than what was produced. And we know that the difference most likely will come from the woods they are taking but not declaring. Even with the exporters, we can do that. We can look at what you are saying we are exporting to this country, but we go on the other side also, how much is the country importing? And we will see the difference. So whatever you do, there is a way to see the gap. We know that there is a gap, and then we have some methodologies for estimating. So we wouldn't say that our results are perfect, but at least we are aware of the problem, and every time we do our best to make what we call the adjustment. So this is what I can say on this issue.
Isafu, any other questions? Okay, if no more questions, let's finish our sessions here. Thank you very much for your contribution and participation.
I just take the opportunity to thank Zianing Gong for conducting this session successfully. There is one announcement regarding plenary session. Tomorrow plenary session will start from 9 a.m. And for the poster presentation, those who are, anyone here poster presentation for? No? Okay. So then for dinner will be served from 8 p.m. at front lawn, same where you had your lunch. Thank you then. Have a nice day. Good night.